Hello everyone and welcome to Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com, the number one Superman fan site in the world. In this, our July 22nd, 2024 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including celebrating that our YouTube channel is back. We're going to be talking about the season finale, the season 2 finale of My Adventures with Superman, the teaser promo for season 4 of Superman and Lois, what's been happening with the filming of the upcoming Superman movie. I tell you what, Superman fans are eating well lately, so we've got so much we can get through for tonight's program. We're also starting a new series on our costume analysis. This time around, we're looking at Clark Kent costumes. So we'll be back later in the show with that segment. But joining me, as always, are my two good friends, Michael Bailey, Mark Lax. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you today?
Very good.
Doing
Steve.
okay.
Excellent. So, yes, we want to thank our sponsors and patrons off the top of the show. Thank you to... I still haven't got my coffee cup. Damn it. Where is it? But, nevertheless, thank you to our sponsors and our patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. There they are. Their names are up on the screen. Thank you for buying us our coffee this week. I finished mine earlier. It was cold here this morning, so I had it earlier before the show. But thank you so much for your sponsorship. You can join those fine folks by being a sponsor of the show. All you have to do is go to the join button there on YouTube. Click the join button and different levels of membership with different levels of perks. Or you can go to patreon.com/Superman homepage and be a sponsor of the show in that way. So we really appreciate our sponsors for being part of our show and keeping the show going. So, yes, we should go just quickly off the top of the show, talk about what happened and how we got back. So, as we mentioned last week, if you were watching the show, and I did upload it eventually to YouTube once the YouTube channel got back on, but received a sponsorship request for the show. Thought it looked legit. Opened up their terms and conditions. It actually installed a Trojan on my computer, which allowed them to access whatever I had open on my browser at the time. And obviously I had my YouTube and Google account available. They hacked into that, took over it, wiped everything, made it a Tesla something, political channel. It was crazy. I was stressing. And I want to thank the fine people and they don't probably get enough credit, but the Google YouTube team were superstars in getting everything back in order. All I did was, if you ever happen to get into this position, and I've seen a number of the massive channels out there fall prey to the very same scam that happened to me, all you have to do is direct message or @message Team YouTube on Twitter, and they will send you a form that you fill out to prove that you are who you are, that you own the channel that got stolen from you, and you got to go through a bit of a process. But then once that's all verified, they regain you the Google account that you lost, and then they reconnect you to your YouTube account, and then they restored everything that we had lost. So they've obviously got backups. So 18 years of YouTube videos that we'd been thought we'd lost were recovered. There was a little bit of work that had to be done to kind of get things the way they needed to look, and fix up the name and the imagery, the logo and the graphic. But I was up till 12:30 a.m. the night that it got restored, fixing that all and making sure it all looked pretty and got back to where we were. And thankfully, it's in some ways like it never happened. We are now at 90,000 subscribers. We crossed that mark just this morning. So we are over the 90,000 subscribers and pushing along. So, I am mentally scarred from it, and I will never, ever open some stupid attachment on an email again. Even if I think it is legit, I will double check and triple check. I've put extra security measures on my Google account so that I have to use an app if I'm signing in from a computer or phone that's other than mine. So that somebody can't steal it again. And there's all those kinds of things in place. But I want to thank everyone for all their positive messages. We even had a private message, or I should say a public message, from Gail Simone, the current writer of Action Comics, who was very nice to show her support and on Twitter. And we had heaps of people sending us messages of support. and it kind of made me feel, very supported, but still stressed. But it was very nice to see all the great, kind messages that we received. So thankfully, gentlemen, we are back.
Yes, we are.
Awesome.
Mind the Gap saying maybe do a backup channel. A backup channel? No, I don't think a backup channel is actually possible. I mean, I could always start a new channel again. I was thinking about how I might have to do that, but there's no way you can recover 18 years of videos and download them to your computer. That's just not doable. I've put in measures that will secure it, hopefully, for the future, and we'll see where we go from there. But, yeah, it is what it is. We push on. The show must go on, as they say.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, indeed. All right, so let's get into what's been happening with the upcoming Superman movie to start with. And they've now left Cleveland. They're no longer in Cleveland. I think they were in Cincinnati the last couple of days. But so they left from Cleveland. They moved over to Cincinnati, where they were filming inside the Cincinnati's Union Terminal Station building, which is the real-life inspiration for the Hall of Justice, as seen in the 1970s Super Friends cartoons. So that's pretty interesting. I imagine that they're probably using it as the Hall of Justice. Wouldn't that make sense?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that they're not using the Sewanee, Georgia Center for Justice, because it kind of looks like that too. But if you're in Ohio and this is the actual inspiration for it, yeah, that's what you'd use. It's really cool that it's finally getting that. Nerds have been talking about it for years, that it was the Hall of Justice, and now it looks like it's going to officially be made that.
Yeah, I was waiting for you, Mark, to say something, but obviously you're happy with that.
No. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, because I thought something happened. Okay, no. It's kind of exciting that they're using the actual building. I mean, of course, maybe a set itself that they build, but yeah, it's just exciting. I mean, we've thought of that in our heads as the Super Friends JLA, headquarters forever, even though the JLA headquarters have been everywhere, but the fact that they're actually using it, and probably for the Justice League headquarters, is pretty exciting. I like it.
Yeah, so there was a couple of reports done locally for this filming, so let's have a look at a bit of that video.
There, it welcomes Superman to Cincinnati today.
So we have been leading the way on filming plans for this upcoming movie for days now. And now the impact is here, especially if you're traveling right now and trying to get home from work. So the Ohio Department of Transportation warned us about these closures throughout the Lytle Tunnel. Yes, during rush hour. Taking a live look right now on the traffic in that area, and you can see it is at a standstill. WLWT News 5's Rachel Hersheimer live with the excitement, unless you're one of those drivers. Hi there, Rachel.
Hey, Cherie. Hey, Chris. For drivers trying to get on the I-71 southbound lanes right into the line.
So just a bit of a traffic report looks like what they were posting, but if you look later on in the video, which I'm not going to get to because we don't want to breach any copyright, show that they had flags flying out of the Metropolis like a logo for Metropolis, City of Metropolis, out in the front of the building. So I thought that they might have been doing some filming on the outside exterior as well, which they may have, and we just didn't see any reports really about it, or they were doing it incognito. But nevertheless, this was the image that James Gunn posted of that City of Metropolis logo, which he saw they've got as a coaster as well. We've seen that symbol before in other flags and things that they've shown, some signage when they were in Cleveland. But just shows the attention to detail. I mean, if they're even making coasters that you probably won't even get to see unless someone's sticking a cup or a glass or something down directly on it in a close-up shot. It's pretty impressive just how much effort they're going to while they are doing all these kind of little bits and pieces.
Absolutely. No, I want one of those now, actually.
Yeah.
I think they should start offering merch now.
Well, it won't be long.
Yeah, a little early for that, but hopefully they will. Hopefully that's part of it.
Yeah, and James Gunn did post a nice farewell message across his social media accounts to the city of Cleveland, thanked them for their hospitality and for the weeks of filming that they did have going on there. And it's kind of nice because, Cleveland, as we know, is the birthplace of Superman, with Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster having been living in Cleveland while they came up with the idea and the concept of Superman back in the 1930s. So it's kind of fitting that they filmed there. And as we saw while they were filming, we saw that Will Reeve, the son of the late, great Christopher Reeve, was filming a cameo appearance as a reporter for the upcoming film. He was caught by TMZ reporters, or people that posted to TMZ about his time. He can't say much, but here's a little bit of what he did say.
It was a really great experience. They were super friendly. It was quick, easy, and I'm really looking. I was actually more nervous doing that than I am whenever I'm on TV for my normal job. Yeah, because there were so many people around, and I had to memorize one line, but still.
So there you have it. Even his voice, he sounds so much like his dad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool that he's doing a cameo, as we know.
It's better than a cameo.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's just not coming in and out. He's actually got an on-screen, line of dialogue. So that's really cool and good to see that he's happy to talk about it as much as he can, because he's obviously signed things that contracts and NDAs and what have you that he can't disclose what's going on. But so at the moment they're kind of not as public as they were filming the upcoming film. They're still out there, still doing their stuff. It's a little bit more behind the scenes, not so much out in the public eye. So we continue to report on anything that we know about, and we'll keep you apprised of any of those details. But the movie is powering along, less than a year away now till we get to see this upcoming Superman film directed by James Gunn.
Yeah, this I'm really looking forward to. I haven't been this excited for a movie.
I think they are back in.
What's that? Oh, go ahead.
We've got a bit of a delay with Michael,
Yeah,
so it's just...
They're back in Georgia now.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just got a bit of a delay there with Michael's feed. I'm not sure why that is.
No idea why.
Yeah, so we'll continue to... Hopefully it kind of just catches up and that lag doesn't continue. So moving on to... Still, it's kind of bridging the gap between movie and TV news. We heard from Jack Quaid this week, who is the voice of Superman in the animated series My Adventures with Superman. But he reveals to Happy, Sad, Confused, to the Josh Horowitz, the host of that show on YouTube, that he actually did audition for the new Superman film, for the live-action film, but it never went further than that. Here's a little bit of what he had to say about that process.
You auditioned for the live action Superman, you told me once.
I did.
Do you feel comfortable talking about that? What that audition process was like?
That. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody did. You know what I mean? If you could kind of fit a bill, no, it's just one of those. I didn't get very far at all. I put myself on tape, and it went nowhere, and that's fine. That's totally cool. Specifically because I actually know David Cornsweet a little bit.
Wow.
We did a pilot years ago that never went anywhere, but he's one of those people you meet and you go, oh yeah, whenever they need another one, it's probably going to be you.
That guy's Superman.
That guy's.
So there you have it. That's a little bit of interesting tidbit that he actually did try to audition for the live action role of Superman, but the fact that he knows David Cornsweet and automatically assumed that he'd be the next guy chosen it's kind of really interesting the way those kind of things work.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, I don't...
We'll let Michael go first.
I'm gonna
go ahead, Michael. You go,
back
Mike.
in.
Michael, okay, yeah,
So-
that's there. All right, let's try that. But Mark, while he's dialing out and dialing back in, what were you going to say?
No, it seems with these kinds of things, all the young actors, they're all going for these big roles, and it just, the fact that they, kind of cross over with each other is, it seems kind of ironic, but really, out there, trying to cast, something like Superman, you're going to get all the males in their 20s actors, going up there and just trying to get the role. So the fact that he knows David Corenswet is kind of cool, considering he's also playing Superman on My Adventures with Superman.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it is kind of cool, and the fact that he attempted to go for both roles, live action and voice, is kind of interesting. Now, Michael's just jumped back on. See if that's any better, Mike.
I hope it's better.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I do not know what the problem was.
Yeah. So your thoughts on that, on Jack Quaid?
It's not that I don't think he would have been good at it. He's obviously good at the voice. He wouldn't have been able to do the voice, where I think he's doing some really good work. So I think this kind of worked out, and I guess that's how it works in Hollywood now. One of your first auditions is just to send a tape and have them look at it instead of them calling you in. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and Sith Happens in the comments has a good point. He said, I'd rather Jack's job where you can just be Superman without having to hit the gym and get into shape. Doing it as a voice, it's much easier.
Yeah.
There you have it. All right, so that's just a little bit there of a tidbit on the casting process. Now, the new animated movie, the third part of the Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths animated series of films, is now out digitally. The Blu-ray doesn't arrive till tomorrow, July 23rd, there in the US. It's already July 23rd here in Australia, which just happens to be my wedding anniversary. But nevertheless, we have the third part of the animated series available, so animated movie series, I should say. I don't want to get anybody confused. That is now available digitally, as I said. The Crisis on Infinite Earths film is the poster in between you two guys right now. I haven't seen it yet. I usually get my animated films on Blu-ray, but as like a physical copy. But from all accounts, people were impressed, but it does differ quite completely away from what the comic book series did as far as the ending is concerned.
Before we go into that, Steve, we could have taken the night off. I mean, it would have been fine. It's your wedding anniversary.
I'm at work. I'm at my desk. I'm still at my desk. My wife's at work, so it's not like I would have been doing anything other than being at my computer either. Anyway, still doing my coaching job tonight as going to training, and we'll celebrate it on the weekend. We'll go out for dinner on Saturday night.
Oh, that's very sweet. Ironically, Saturday is the 25th anniversary of my first date with my wife. So I guess we'll both be celebrating in a weird way. But no, I tried watching the first part of this Crisis movie. There's something about this animation that I don't like. It's really weird. It's almost like web animation from like the early 2000s, or like that Watchmen motion comic. And I'm sure it gets better as you go along, but I'm going to try it again at some point. Now that all three parts are out, you can watch the whole thing, but I don't know why everybody was really excited over the weekend when it dropped to show the deaths of all these animated universes. Like this is something I don't understand. Why is it every time we bring back a beloved version of a character or a property, and it's just like, oh, there it is. Look at it. It's sitting there, and then it just gets destroyed somehow, either as worlds crashing into each other on Flash. I'm like, guys, is this what we're doing with our time? Wouldn't we rather like somebody do a new adventure of that and us watch that and not watch them die? I just don't get it at all.
We're sadistic.
I understand that, but it is the Crisis. I mean, the original Crisis did the same thing. They took all these worlds we knew and destroyed them. And I mean, I haven't seen the third part yet.
But in that, in most cases, all of the characters came to one Earth. So it's not like they killed off the Justice Society. The Justice Society just got folded into the fabric. Blue Beetle, all that. Now, different versions of those characters died, but that wasn't them bringing them back. They had been existing, and this is where they stopped. I don't need to see the Batman of the Super Friends dying. I really don't need that in my head at this point. The world is on fire. We're supposed to be enjoying things, and there's this trading on nostalgia that's happening, and all it is it's this nihilistic, like here it is. Here's Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater, kind of in a really kind of almost AI looking thing, and they're going to look out to another world, and then those worlds are going to crash into each other, and it's just like, what is the point of this?
I get where you're coming from. So I'm looking forward to giving you my review once I get a geezer at this animated film to finish off the Tomorrowverse. It's all done now. We move on to whatever James Gunn has planned moving forward.
And I'm okay with that.
Yes, me too. I was happy for it to be what it was.
By the way, Steve, if you need like a clip for this episode, it's kind of like the promo. You can go Mike Goes Crazy, and have that as the promo clip, and that's what'll get shared. So
I'll do that for sure. That'll go viral.
I'll try to do that every week. I'll go crazy about something.
Mike's rant. All right, and just
Go crazy, and I'll go crazy.
Yeah, and then I'll be like the guy in the middle trying to keep you apart, and your head, and then your heads will explode, and I'll be sitting here on my own.
Great.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic.
We'll have 150,000 subscribers by that time.
All right, well, let's move on to the animated universe of the TV side of things, where the final episode of Season 2 of My Adventures with Superman aired on the weekend, and it was titled My Adventures with Supergirl, and I gave this episode a 5 out of 5 rating in my review that is up on the website and also part of our podcast YouTube channel there. I loved this episode. I loved the fact that we got to see the way Brainiac, everything that happened with Brainiac. I got to see how the people of Metropolis, reacted to all of this. I loved the way Amanda Waller's character, the arc there, what happened with her. This was a pretty powerful episode.
Yeah, I think this is the most Superman-y, like traditional Superman episode we've seen so far. Just in terms of the action, the way he used his powers. There was a moment, and it's not socially acceptable anymore. But the story of Brer Rabbit, getting thrown into the briar patch. That's kind of how I felt when they were like throwing them into the sun. I'm like, oh yeah, throw them in the sun. That's going to work out for you in the end. But it also turned into a cool thing. Like, this is where we figure out that that's where his powers come from. Like, Superman didn't know that up until this point. So I kind of appreciated that. And like, Kara's like, no, this is where our powers come from, Kal-El. And it was just a really nice way of displaying that. It was really like, earlier in the season, I was just like, is this really how I want them to introduce Kara? And I'm still kind of on the fence about that. But now that this is where we've gotten to, where she's at the Kent farm and they're playing catch at the end, the only thing that really bugged me about this episode had nothing to do with the episode itself. It's it's like the episode didn't end. It played right through the credits.
Yeah.
And there was a little thing at the end. And if you're watching that on Max, what it does is as soon as it starts going to the credits, it throws that into a little box. And I'm like, I want to watch this. And I didn't want to like try to figure out a way to get it to go full screen again, because then I was afraid it was going to like go out and I was going to have to go back in, and I'm lazy at heart and I don't want to have to figure these things out. I'm old and these new technological things, kind of mess with me. But no, I was just like, that was kind of annoying. But then it shows you that this was really intended to be watched on like Boomerang and not and not on streaming the next day.
Just quickly on that reference to the sun, I love the way the visual aspect of it was done. So, when they have kryptonite poisoning, the green veins come in their hands and what have you. Here we got golden veins to show that they were being powered instead of depowered. So that was really cool. Nice visual cue.
Yeah. No, it was everything about the ending was exactly what it needed to be. I loved that Brainiac thought he had it all figured out, and that's what brought him down. I will say this: if there's a giant box with the Brainiac symbol on it, do you really want to hang on to that?
Yeah.
You really want to put that in your room? Doesn't that feel like, I think this is going to come and bite us in the ass a little later? I mean,
I'd be burying it somewhere.
No, I'd be leaving it in the freaking sun is what I would be doing. No, but a great season finale. I loved how everyone came together. Lex Luthor proved what a coward he was. And it's just everything about it. It's like somebody in the chats, Mind the Gap, says that it felt like a series finale. It did, but it also feels like a series finale where it could go on. Like,
yes.
The next season, they didn't bring everything to a close. They just brought it to kind of a natural conclusion, and now we can tell more stories.
Yeah.
I loved this episode. At first I figured, well, no, it's going to be a really great episode, and they're going to destroy Brainiac, and she's going to become Supergirl. That all seemed pretty obvious, but it just the way it was all handled, and like you said, the little details, like the green veins turning into the kind of golden yellow veins because they were gaining the power, and the Sam Lane turning up, and all that stuff. It was going in a little direction that I didn't really thought it would go, and the way it ended was just fantastic. I mean, it just has such a hopeful ending, and obviously, Lex is going to be a big force next season. But it was just, it's had all the beats to it, and John Henry coming in and with his own team of semi-criminals. But no, it just all worked so well. And yeah, that Brainiac box. I mean, it's odd that when she woke up, it was sitting there right next to her on the table. I wonder why they would do that, unless it was, I don't know. But beyond that, I mean, this was just such a great episode. And I still kind of think they brought Supergirl in a little early. But beyond that, I mean, if it follows in this way, I'm all for it. It was really, really great episode. I really enjoyed myself. I would
one of the best.
I'd give it a 5. I'd give it a 5.
Yeah, same. One of the best moments I thought was when Superman was saying to Kara, like, he didn't want to fight her, but then he swings his arm and you think he's got his fist clenched to punch her back, but instead he embraces her and pulls her towards him. Mm-hmm. And then later on you've got Jimmy hugging Kara, Lois hugging Kara, and then Superman hugs her. As like it was just a really touching moment, and it just showed, even with those villains coming to help, that this is what Superman does. He inspires other people. We're tired, and we all said it earlier when they had that whole episode where they thought he was turning bad, and we're like, aren't we over this antitrust of Superman type of thing? And this series didn't go there. It went on to the Superman is what we aspire to be. Superman is who inspires other people, and it really boosted that element of the show, and I loved it for doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just assume that box, it just has all of Kara's MP3s.
Right.
Playlist. She's got playlists made up, and those take time, man. I mean, it's just like you don't want to lose it, and some of the licensing on that is gone, so she can't get it
that's
back.
Right.
So
those Kryptonian artists are not around. That's it. They're not around anymore. Those people who sang those songs for her on her home world. So she's got to hold on to that.
That's what she.
All right. So they are. Yeah. Sorry. Go.
Yeah, Mind the Gap mentioned that there was the anime trope of playing the theme song in the episode, and when they actually did that, it was just like, did they actually use the Superman theme for him doing something Superman-y? I mean, I've been kind of waiting for this, and it kind of worked, so I was down for that.
Because they didn't play it in the beginning of the season, the episode. The episode didn't start with that promo opening like it usually does, so that was kind of cool that we got to hear that during the episode.
Right.
All right, so they will be if you haven't caught up on season 2 or you've missed the episodes, Adult Swim will be airing a 5-hour marathon, back-to-back episodes of all 10 episodes of season 2 of My Adventures with Superman on Sunday, July 28th from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Here is that promo.
Another amazing season of My Adventures with Superman has come and gone.
But we're not ready to let go just yet.
So we're firing up a season 2 marathon as a summer send-off.
There is another like you. Run! We need to lose them!
What do you think we're trying to do, Dad?
Ready, Kara?
Catch up with our My Adventures with Superman Season 2 marathon.
Next Saturday from midnight to 5 a.m.
Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
So there you have it. That's the promo for a 5-hour marathon of all 10 episodes back to back.
Right in prime time. Right in prime time.
Yeah, 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. All good. So, still on the TV side of things, Superman and Lois, the final season, they released a poster image to start with of this new season, and it's the cape tattered, flying or floating above Earth. Very much, obviously, the death of Superman type of imagery, promoting that the season premieres on October 17th. And they did that with a kind of like a teaser when they released it on social media to announce that there would be a teaser coming on the next day or two. And here is that teaser that they released for the upcoming season of Superman and Lois.
Superman is dead. Can we please just enjoy the moment?
Oh, you see them. I won't say what I was going to say about him. But yeah, so July 27th, this coming weekend, after the San Diego Comic-Con panel for Superman and Lois, we will see the full trailer for Season 4, the final season of Superman and Lois released.
Yep, looking forward to it. I mean, this is one of those rare moments where they actually have the entire season done before they release the trailer, so they've got a lot of options for footage on that, I would assume. And it's kind of funny because I think the Olympics are this weekend too, so it's like San Diego Comic-Con and the Olympics. I mean, I don't really care about the Olympics. I hope everyone who loves it watches every second and enjoys it. It's just I'm going to be more interested in this.
Yeah.
Fair
point. I'm neither here or there on the Olympics, but I'm going to be waiting for information from San Diego about all of this. So that's where my head will be.
Yeah, when we not only do we have the Superman and Lois trailer for Season 4 coming out with that Q&A panel and whatever else they're doing there at San Diego Comic-Con for that, but they're also doing a My Adventures of Superman panel and presentation before the Superman and Lois one. So, we may get some kind of a promo for Season 3 beyond that stinger that we saw. So hopefully we get some details because that's in production as well. So lots to look forward to coming out of San Diego Comic-Con this next weekend coming.
Yeah, I'm just like I don't even really know how to articulate it. There's like Superman stuff at San Diego and people are excited about it. I mean, like what kind of and there's 2 panels back to back on different Superman properties
in Hall H.
What world are we living in right now?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like I it's all going to get taken away from us, guys. Like
I know.
No,
well, let's
come in and they're just like, nope, you can't have this.
let's just bask in it while we can.
Yeah.
Like I said, Superman fans eating well at the moment with all this stuff going on. And even on the comic book side of things, if we get time, we might talk about the solicitations. But let's get into the fan favorite segment of our show. So here we have the intro. If I can find it. There it is. All right, so gentlemen, Mark, what was our fan favorite question from last week?
What is your favorite Superman comic book cover featuring Toyman?
Toyman. All right.
And David Rustage wrote in and said, "Sorry to hear about the hack. Hope it doesn't cause permanent damage. My two favorite covers, and both had good stories attached. So we got Superman number 13, which was really good. Toyman. I mean, Toyman's not strictly speaking on the cover, but it's a Toyman story, so,
and
so
there,
that counts.
There is toys.
Yep. Oh, that's a good one.
Action Comics 865. So thank you, David. Very nice.
And Tanya Schwartzo, I'm sorry if I pronounce that wrong, wrote, "Hey guys, my husband Rick and I picked out together several Superman covers we really like featuring Toyman. It was hard to narrow it down from our choices because some of these are downright perfect in our opinion."
Yeah, some of the same ones that David sent us, but some other ones. That's a cool one from Superman Adventures, because that was always a very creepy Toyman in the animated series.
Yes.
And turn the wrong one off there. There we go. There's with the toys, and yes, then that one. That's a very sinister one. Yeah. So thank you, Tanya and Rick, for sending in those. So they were the two responses we had for the fan favorite question this week. So thank you to those, David and Tanya. Really appreciate your sending those in. Plenty to choose from when you look at Toyman, but you wouldn't think so. But nevertheless, we had quite a few there. So thank you to you both. Michael, what is our new fan favorite question for this week?
This is a good one. What is your favorite Superman comic book cover featuring Steel? That's a good one.
That's a good one. We saw Steel feature in the finale of My Adventures with Superman, so why not bring him into the comic book side of things for the fan favorite question? The email address is on the bottom of your screen there. It is info@supermanhomepage.com. So your favorite Steel comic book covers. It doesn't have to be from the Steel title itself. If there's a Superman one that caught your eye, that would be the ones to send in. So send those in, and we will look at those when we return to this segment, possibly next week. Now, speaking about next week, I should mention now is a good time to let you know that we should have a special guest next week. I have organized to have the composer of My Adventures with Superman, Daniel Futcher, appear as a special guest. Now that the finale of Season 2 has been aired, Daniel Futcher, the composer of My Adventures with Superman, will come on to chat with us next week. Probably won't be the full hour of the show next week, so we should be able to get to fan favorite questions and the like. But we don't talk much about the score of the film. We spoke about the intro, and we've had the gentleman who is behind that music for the intro, the Heretics, that did the intro for My Adventures with Superman. But the music that goes on behind the action and all that kind of stuff is something that we haven't really focused on. So it'll be really interesting to talk to Daniel next week. So he'll be our special guest here on Superman Homepage Live to talk about the music behind My Adventures with Superman. So that's next week's episode. All right, let's jump into our costume analysis. And we've done with the Superman costumes, the live action Superman costumes from TV and film. So now we are, thanks to Michael's great suggestion, looking at Clark Kent as the character and the way he has appeared over the years. So let's have a look at, going back to the beginning, Kirk Allen. So there we have him with Noel Neill as Lois Lane. Now, you might think, how can you do a costume analysis of Clark Kent? But there are so many elements to who Clark Kent is and what makes him a visually appealing character. And we start with the iconic hat. Mm-hmm. Now, it's usually a fedora of some kind. And while we don't see it so much in modern live-action versions of Superman, I think since maybe Christopher Reeve, we really haven't seen Clark Kent wear a hat as part of his daily attire. Nevertheless, I think it's obviously a throwback to a time when men wore hats as their everyday attire, just like they wore suits. But I love the hat as part of Clark Kent's look.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, especially when you're going to the Golden and Silver and even into the Bronze Age, it's just an iconic look for Superman. Basically, because he was dressing as men dressed at the time, and just it's kind of always. I mean, I can't see Dean Cain wearing a hat. I can't see Tom Welling or Brandon Routh or any of them because just in those modern contexts, that wasn't something that you really did. Now, if he wore it, he'd be accused of being a hipster because it wouldn't be a fedora; it'd be a trilby. And I think we're all much better off in life never seeing Clark Kent wear a trilby. But no, I always like in the like the serials and especially the George Reeves series, seeing Clark in the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again, it's an iconic look. I mean, it's we'd be more surprised now to see them wearing a hat, and they would be very surprised way back then if he wasn't wearing a hat, because that was just how it was back then.
Mhm.
I mean, drawing, the early comics, obviously he was wearing it because that's what men wore. So obviously this is the first live action in general, and they've got to give him that hat, and it's such a classic look. In a way, I kind of wish they could bring it back just a little in some way, because I just love the look. But now I'm sure they won't. But it's just so iconic. I just love the look of it.
And then we get to the suit, and Clark's always worn a business suit to work. I mean, even in Man of Steel, he still had a tie and a jacket on. So it's still not up to today's kind of just wear your jeans and your t-shirt to work kind of thing, as probably a lot of them do. But you still wore your business attire when you're going to work, even as a reporter. And let's be fair and honest, back in that time, journalists were respected people, not seen like today where they're kind of trolls and people don't respect them. Back then a Daily Planet newspaper was a respected place to go and give your story to. And here we've got the double-breasted suit, which is not so much in fashion anymore. It's more the single-breasted suit, but wide lapels and all that kind of stuff. But it's a little bit baggy here, which kind of makes sense because you don't want Clark to be wearing something that's going to show off his physique.
Yeah, I always thought Kirk Allen's suit did look, or Kirk Allen always did kind of look like he was wearing a suit jacket that was one size too big. Which again, if you want to, he didn't seem too concerned about separating the identities. I mean, it wasn't like George Reeves, who was really not that concerned about separating how he acts from one or the other. JP Rocha in the comments mentions that double-breasted suits are ugly. I just think the thing with double-breasted suits on large men is it makes them look puffier than they are, I guess is a weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you don't want him wearing something that's form-fitting. So it's kind of it's an argument I have with myself because the stakes are so low. I can be wrong or right about it, and it doesn't matter.
I think I actually had a sport coat, double-breasted sport coat at one time. But
yeah, me too.
Yeah, no, I mean it's still the classic jacket and tie look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does make it his baggier, certainly. I don't know. It doesn't look so much different as any of the others, really. It's just has that. You could just tell it, just especially with the double-breasted. It is puffier. It is roomier. Obviously, okay, they don't want it to be tight to show off the physique, but I think they went a little too far in making it a little bit too loose on him.
It just has the everyman look, which I guess is what you're going for when you are Clark Kent. And then you've got the glasses, and here they're very thin-rimmed glasses, not the horn-rimmed glasses that we come familiar with over the years. But so they're not so much of of a mask in many ways. Like, they don't disguise him, but that's kind of what the glasses were for his time. And they're, he's doing his X-ray vision here, which is why he's very wide-eyed, which is what I liked about Kirk Allen's attempts at showing that he was doing that, using that superpower. But very plain.
I always kind of thought that Kirk Allen's Clark always kind of looked like he was high. Just in his general demeanor, and so I guess the wide-eyed part of that is, I guess that's where the paranoia is setting in, and he thinks everyone's out to get him. No, the glasses are one of those things. By the way, the glasses are a constant source of contention within the Bailey household, because my wife thinks that they are the silliest disguise of all time, and that there should be no way that people who work with Clark should not know that he's Superman. Going down to the point that if sometimes when I take off my glasses, she will go, "Who is this stranger in my house?" But I think Kirk Allen looked. It's like they plucked the Clark Kent from the comics at the time and put it on screen, and I think that's why the glasses, in particular with the thin frames, work well for what he's doing. Whereas in later Clark's, thicker frames kind of became more the fashion.
Now, just quickly before Mark jumps in on this, the reason I like the hat as part of the costume is because it adds another element of disguising him, because he hasn't got his hair just freely flowing and, the curl there on his forehead or whatever his hairstyle is. Having the hat on also adds another element of disguise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, and it's just my quick theory about the glasses being a disguise is just Siegel and Schuster, they created that. He put on the glasses, that was his disguise, and that was it. They played with it through the decades, making fun of it and all this, but it is what it is. They said he's going to put the glasses on, and it was going to be his disguise, and people weren't going to know who he is, and that's it. I don't want to. I want to go so much further with it. I know it seems ridiculous.
Let's be honest, but it's more than just the glasses. It's the fact that his demeanor, it's his attire, the way he goes about, the way his voice is. I mean, Christopher Reeve did it best when he showed that scene where he'd just come back from flying Lois and he contemplates telling her who he is, and his whole physical demeanor, his voice, everything changes. So it's not just the glasses. I hate when people say, like you said, Michael, that joke of, and they did it in the Scooby-Doo animated film where Crypto and Scooby-Doo 2, whatever it was called, where was it Thelma took off her glasses and Lois was like, "Where'd Thelma go?" And it's like, and she puts the glasses back on. "Oh, there you are." It's like, it's so silly.
Well, I don't know. It is everything. It is everything. I mean, even though I thought, Christopher Reeve did play it a little bit too silly, or however you wanted to say, goofy. With him, I mean, you really, his whole look and the way he acted, you really couldn't in that whole moment. And I know we're going to go into this when we get to Superman the movie, but in that whole moment, when he takes off the glasses, like he's going to tell her, and then in the last second he doesn't, and that was just brilliant. But yeah, I mean, for the glasses themselves, yeah, they're basically. They basically are the the Golden Age Superman from the comics. I mean, it looks just like that, and they're fine. I mean, the glasses will change as time goes on, but I kind of like these glasses,
just like the suit. So there's the glasses, but then we look at Kirk Allen as a person, as his face, his hair. I mean, let's look at the hair, because with Christopher Reeve, he parted his hair differently when he was Clark Kent to when he was Superman, and I don't think that shtick had kind of been about, or even necessarily something that a lot of people think about too much, even back then or now. But he's got the hairstyle of the day, and it's that slick back look with the Brill cream or whatever else you've got going on, which is very much the style of the 1940s.
Yeah, he does look like he sits there and hums the Brill Cream theme or jingle as he's doing his hair in the mornings and all that. It's a little poofy on top, but if you had thick hair back then, that's kind of how it worked. And he had kind of wavy hair too. Kirk
he
Allen
did.
did. So I'm sure that was kind of a probably a source of constant touch up between takes and such. It's also interesting seeing with this Clark Kent, because it is the late 40s. He doesn't have sideburns. His hair is neatly trimmed around his ears. So it's a very conservative haircut.
Yes.
Whereas when we would get to later Clark Kents in the 70s and 90s, that gets a little looser.
Yeah, I mean, I thought even as when he was Superman, I didn't. One of the weakest parts I thought was his hair. I didn't like the way that looks. I mean, as for Clark, it looks fine. It is that 1940s hairdo. I don't see it any either here nor there. It's just it looks fine.
Yeah.
It
So I
looks
mean,
fine for what it.
yeah, can't really. I mean, I don't know if we should give ratings for Clark Kent's in here, but I mean, if we're going to out of 10, I would give Kirk Allen a solid 7.
I might be a little lower. I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, I'd give him an 8. I'd probably go 1 point holder.
Okay. There we go. We diverged quite differently
Mark
here.
the contrarian.
Hey, I like my Clark a certain way. What can I say?
No, fair enough. So there you go. That is our analysis of Clark Kent as played by Kirk Allen, and we will move on to George Reeves next week. So very interesting looking at that from a kind of different perspective. So thank you very much. All right, we still have about 8 minutes to go before we wrap up the show, which gives us time to discuss the solicitations that DC released this week for October. October 2024 solicitations. Some interesting... they're going in a completely new direction. They've got this version of... What do they call it? Absolute line, where the heroes are underdogs in some ways. So underdog versions of these characters. What do we think of Absolute Superman #1? It says, without the fortress, without the family, without a home, what's left is the absolute man of steel.
So
I've
been thinking about this a lot. I've been thinking about this a lot over the last week, or the past couple of days since they announced this. And, I've been saying for a couple of years now that DC seems to be in their publishing directive seems now to not want to jam all of their characters into one universe. It seems like they're wanting to have different versions of the characters to appeal to different audiences. And if they announced that they were ceasing all publication of all the other Superman books, and that this was the Superman book that they were going to go with, and this was the version that they were going to go with, I would be like, no, I'm kind of dead set against that, because I'm tired of these reinventions of Superman. However, this Absolute line is separate, and it's meant to be separate. It's meant to be a way to tell stories that are kind of off the beaten path, and you still have the mainstream version if that's the version you prefer. And on that level, I'm like, that's okay. This was going to be a trade paperback read for me until I saw some of the commentary on it on social media, asking if it was going to be, woke and all that. I'm like, no, now I'm going to buy 5 of these things just to piss those people off, because I'm tired of that. But Jason Aaron's a good writer, so I'm sure. And this is the point of the Superman. This is the point of this universe, is to be kind of very different versions of these characters. So I can't say, well, I don't like that or I don't want that, when it's the point of it, and when I have other options.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's, maybe trying to be its ultimate line, the ultimate Marvel. I don't know how far they're going to take this. Is this just something that's going to be ongoing, or is this just going to be for this one particular era? I don't know. It doesn't quite seem to be the Superman that I would want. But it could be something very interesting. And like Mike said, this is what this universe is supposed to be. It's supposed to have dark side energy or something to that effect. So yeah, it's going to be a much different world, and then that's what it's going to be. And you don't have to read it. If you don't want
that's
to,
right.
you don't have to read it. You've got
Because
our main guy right there. So, but I have no problem with it. I think it's, it is what it is. And if it's interesting, I'll give it a look.
Yep, because as you said, we do have the main Superman and Action Comics titles continuing. Joshua Williamson still on Superman. There's number 19, The Many Deaths of Doomsday. Superman and Superwoman must deal with the return of the rampaging Doomsday. And wait, Superwoman? After the events of Absolute Power, Lois Lane has new powers. But how long can they last? And waiting in the shadows is one of Superman's greatest enemies, the Time Trapper. Jump on to a new exciting story arc that will shape the future of Superman. And then over in Action Comics 1070, you've got Mark Waid, joined by Mariko Tamaki. An otherworldly horror tearing its way through Metropolis has emerged from the Phantom Zone. Something's wrong in the zone, something terrible, and Superman must enter alone to find out what. From the pages of Absolute Power and Batman Superman World's Finest comes a new action epic, unlike any you've seen before, from the visionary creative team of Mark Waid and Clayton Henry. Plus, Woman of Tomorrow is here today. Supergirl's special Mariko Tamaki and Skylar Patridge return to bring Kara to the farthest reaches of space in pursuit of a mysterious threat only she can handle. So yeah, the Superman titles continue. It'll be interesting to see just where things go with some of these stories coming in October. But we've still got so many stories leading into those books across July and August and September. So there you have it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to everything. I mean, I'm not looking forward to having to spend $20 on Action Comics every month, but
yeah, because they are going weekly.
That weekly thing lasts.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you've got the.
We have a weekly deadline now.
Yes, sorry, Mark. Reviewing Action Comics, it's fallen into your lap to do that. But they've also got the DC All In scheduled for release in October, a new 64-page comic book special with Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson announcing this via YouTube, which gives us an insight into the absolute line of books also announced. So, yeah, very interesting to see what DC All-In Special Number 1 will be like in October. It will be a flip book with art by Daniel Sampierre on one side and art by Wes Craig on the other. So, some interesting ideas coming out of DC for the books coming out later this year. But that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in once again to Superman Homepage Live now that we are back on YouTube. Thank you to everybody for being part of tonight's show. I want to thank our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham, John Patrick Van Pelt, and Tina Murray. And I want to thank our fine co-hosts, Michael Bailey, Mark Lax. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure,
All right, so we will be back next week, as I said, with our special guest who will be joining us next week. That is Daniel Futcher, from the composer of My Adventures with Superman, joining us next week on Superman Homepage Live at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. On Monday, July 29th. So be sure you are joining us then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself, Michael Bailey, Mark Lax. Thanks for joining us on Superman Homepage Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com. Good night.